Hi everyone. I hope you're doing well today. The sun is shining and it's very healing. I've never done this before, so please bear with me as I take you through a practice from my home. As you can see, I don't have a ton of space, so hopefully you can see what you need to see to follow along with this short yoga practice. We'll see how it goes, and if it goes well on this end, then I will create some more. What you'll need today, if you have one, is a block. If you don't, and you're anything like me, and you seem to collect books, have a stack of books that you can use as your block. Okay. Let's give this a try. I also hope you can hear me okay. Start by taking a tall seat, and if sitting directly on the floor doesn't really work for you because of your hips or anything else going on in your body, sit on your block or maybe your stack of books. That could be problematic, but you could try it. The other thing you could do is sit on a folded blanket or towel, something like that. Take your time to get settled and somewhat comfortable. I recommend adjusting your seat a little bit to really broaden the base of your seat. And then rest your hands on your thighs with your palms facing down so that you can create a little bit more sensation of grounding in your body. Close your eyes and start to draw attention to your breath. Try not to make any changes to your breath in the beginning. Just simply observe and notice the current qualities of your breath, including the rate of your breath and the depth of your breath, even the texture of your breath. Take the time to witness where you're at when you meet yourself on the mat just now. We can only begin anything from exactly where we are. So acknowledge where you're at in your own body, in your own mind, in your own heart. Be humbled by where you're at. Be honest with where you're at. And with humility in mind, with openness, I invite you to move from this place. You may bring your hands together in front of your heart and gently bow your chin to your chest in a gesture of openness and a gesture of gratitude. May you use this practice as an opportunity to be in your own body, be out of your mind and any sense of worry in your mind, and be directly in physical sensation of your efforts. Release your hands back down onto your thighs. Gently open your eyes and lift your chin again. Hello. If you're sitting on your block, just move it out to the side. And then come onto your hands and your knees. organize your hands to be outer shoulder distance apart and parallel to one another, so your fingers are facing the top of your mat. And then look back at your knees and organize your knees to be roughly inner hip distance apart. So say 5 or 6 inches between your knees, as well as between your shins and between your feet. And just here, take a deep breath in as you are. And when you breathe out, kind of soften your upper chest ever so slightly between your upper arm bones. To begin from a place of softness, from a place of humility and receptivity. The next time you inhale, tip the front of your pelvis forward, let your navel sink toward the floor, and pull your chest forward between your upper arm bones, better known as cow pose. And then when you exhale, then round your spine. So tip your pelvis back, curl your spine toward the ceiling, bow your chin toward your chest, better known as cat pose. And then inhale, come forward again, lengthen out the front of your body. And on your exhalation, round your spine. So gather your front waist and broaden your back waist. Again, inhale and open. Maybe even look up a little bit to open the front of your throat. And then exhale and round. Gather the front of your body and curl your chin in toward your chest. And inhale, arc forward. Exhale, round. Inhale, arc forward. Exhale and round. One more, inhale, arc forward. Exhale and round. And the next time you inhale, return to a neutral spine. Create a little bit of softness between your upper arm bones again. Tuck your toes under if they aren't already. Take a deep breath in. And on your exhalation, push the floor away, lift your knees, pike your hips up. And one at a time, start to stretch your heels back and down onto your mat or toward your mat. So not so structured, downward facing dog. Just giving your body some time to open up. I did run this morning, so my hamstrings feel a little tight. They could use some love. And then eventually start to settle into stillness. So I encourage you to bend both of your knees as much as you need to. And then look forward toward your hands. And without moving your hands, draw them toward one another until you feel your upper inner arm bones engage. Okay, and then keeping that from there, push down firmly through your arms. You can make the sides of your body a little longer. And then tip your gaze toward the floor. Come up higher onto your tiptoes. Hike your hips up higher toward the ceiling, so tip the front of your pelvis more forward. And then firm your buttock muscles in toward your midline and scoop your tailbone down toward your heels. Make your legs a little straighter. Don't worry about your heels touching the floor, it's not necessary. Downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths here. Notice any rigidity in your body or in your breath. And every time you exhale, practice softening. Soften in your heart, and the rest will follow. From here, walk your hands back toward your feet and let your heels settle into the floor. Once your fingertips are beside your feet in some shape or form, you can bend your knees if you need to get your fingertips to touch. Keeping that inhale and stretch your chest forward. And when you exhale, explore your ability to make your legs maybe a little bit straighter, maybe a lot, maybe not, but bow in. Now place your hands on your hips and draw your shoulders into the back of your heart so you can broaden your upper chest. And then inhale, start to lengthen forward through your spine. And then exhale here. So you're about halfway up. Inhale again and come up to standing. When you exhale, simply release your arms down at your sides. See, I have such little space that when I stand up, my head's cut off. That's okay, you get the gist of it. Standing at the back of your mat with your feet inner hip distance apart and parallel to one another. Kind of gather, without moving your feet, gather them toward one another until you feel your inner legs engage. Keep that. And we'll balance it out by firming the outer legs, the outer hips, buttock muscles, and firming them down toward your heels. And as a result, what I'm hoping is you feel that you can stand a little taller with greater agency in your legs. Use that to then lengthen your upper torso and draw your shoulders back. Lay your arms at your sides with your palms facing forward. Take a full breath here. On the exhale portion of your breath, soften your heart. And from softness, inhale, reach your arms up overhead, look up. When you exhale with a long spine, bow forward. Again, bend your knees as much as you need to touch the floor. Keep your fingertips connected to the floor. And inhale, stretch your chest forward, any amount that's available. As you exhale, walk your hands back up to the top of your mat and organize them to be outer shoulder distance apart. And then if you're like me and had to step forward, you can step back. Otherwise, just stay where you're at. A good way to gauge how far apart you need your hands and your feet to be for downward dog is to come forward momentarily into the top of a push-up. So you want your shoulders to sit over your wrists and your heels to sit over your toes. And then come up higher into your tiptoes. Reach your hips back and up. That's roughly how far apart you want your hands and feet to be for downward dog. On an inhalation, come forward to either the top of a push-up or to your hands and your knees. And when you exhale, come all the way down onto your belly. Untuck your toes. Stretch your legs back and press your toenails down into the floor. With your hands beside your side ribs, loop your shoulders up onto your back. Inhale and curl your chest forward and up. When you exhale, lower back down. Inhale and curl your chest forward and up. And when you exhale, you'll stay up, but lay your bottom ribs down on the floor. Okay? And then hover your hands off of the floor. So then you know your upper back is working. Keep your upper back engaged. Place your hands back down and then pull your chest forward and up more. Exhale to lower. Tuck your toes. Rise to all fours or the top of a push-up and then return to downward dog. Take 3 breaths here. Last breath. On the exhale, walk your hands back to your feet. Let your heels settle. Inhale, lengthen forward. And when you exhale, fold. Inhale to standing. Stretch your arms up overhead, look up. Exhale your hands to the center of your upper chest. And then release your arms at your sides. Good. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, walk your hands forward to the top of your mat. Downward facing dog. Inhale forward to the top of a push-up. And either lower your knees to the floor first or exhale fully and lower down in one long line. And tuck your toes. Inhale, curl up into cobra pose. When you exhale, lay your bottom ribs down on the floor. And then hover your hands up off of the floor. Make sure your feet stay planted. Inhale. Exhale, place your hands, keep everything lifted in your upper body. And then inhale, pull your chest forward and up more. Exhale to lower. Tuck your toes. Inhale to high plank or all fours. Exhale, downward dog. So this time, look forward toward your hands. Take an inhale breath. Maybe rise to your tiptoes. When you exhale, bend your knees. Step, walk, or hop your feet to your hands. Inhale, stretch your chest forward away from your thighs. And when you exhale, fold in. Inhale all the way up to standing. Stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale your hands to your heart. And release your arms at your sides. Inhale, stretch your arms up overhead, look up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to lengthen forward. Keep the length of your spine. As you exhale, step your left leg back. Take a long step back and then gently lower your knee down onto the ground. And if your knee is super sensitive to the ground, you can take that folded towel and place it under your knee. Bring your hands up onto your hips and lean your torso upright. Either keep your hands on your hips or stretch your arms up overhead as a total continuation of your heart. Take a deep breath in. Soften your heart when you breathe out. Again, breathe in. And breathe out. One more inhalation. And exhale your hands to the floor. Plant your hands flat, lift your back knee, lift your hips, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale here. When you exhale, step your left foot forward. Gently lower your right knee to the floor. Make sure your front shin is vertical in your lunge. So your kneecap, the front of your kneecap, is right over top of the center of your ankle and not beyond it or behind it. Place your hands on your hips, rise up. Either keep your hands on your hips or stretch your arms up overhead. Breathe in and breathe out. One more inhale. Breathe out and return your hands to the floor. Lift your back knee, lift your hips. This time step forward. Inhale, lengthen forward. And exhale, fold. Inhale to standing. Stretch your arms up overhead. Exhale your hands to your heart. And release your arms at your sides. Again, inhale, reach up. Exhale and bow forward. Inhale, lengthen forward. This time when you exhale, step your right foot back first. Keep your right knee lifted and bend your left knee and align your shin to be vertical again. Stay on your right fingertips or use your stack of books or your block and put your fingertips on your block to give you a little more space, a little more lift. Put your left hand on your left thigh. And then first kind of round your spine and gather the front of your waist. So you want to engage your front body. Keep that. And then without moving your hips from your belly button, turn your torso to the left. And then keeping your shoulders stacked, your left shoulder stacked over your right shoulder, maybe stretch your left arm straight up into the air. And if that's too much on your body, just put your hand back down on your thigh. Kind of acts as a leverage point to keep you turning from deep in your belly as opposed to turning at your hips. So you want to make sure you keep your hips facing forward as you turn your torso. Take 2 more breaths here. Soften in your heart every time you exhale. And you might find you have a little more space to deepen the twist. The next time you inhale, return your left hand to the floor. You can move your block out of the way. Plant both of your hands, lift your hips. Step back into downward dog. From downward dog, inhale forward to plank pose. Exhale and lower. Untuck your toes. Inhale, curl your chest forward and up, Bhujangasana. Exhale and lower. Tuck your toes. Inhale to all fours or plank pose. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale here. On your exhale, step your right foot forward. Big step or a couple of little steps. Just make sure you step up far enough that you can then bend your right knee with it remaining stable over your ankle and your shin bone being vertical. Come up onto your left fingertips. So your hand can be on your block or your fingertips on the floor or your books. Place your right hand on your right thigh. Tack your right hip back. I forgot to say this on the first side, but your front hip, which in this case is the right hip, you're going to tack it back so your left hip can wrap forward or your back hip can wrap forward. And keeping your hips facing forward from your belly button. First round. Then from your belly button, twist. Twist to the right. Either keep your hand on your thigh or create a continuum and stretch your right arm up into the air. Two more breaths. And then release your hand back down onto the floor. You can move your block or your books off to the side. This time step your back foot forward. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold. Inhale to standing. Stretch your arms up overhead. And exhale your hands to your heart. Release your arms at your sides. You can turn to face the long side of your mat, whichever side works for you. And then organize your feet to be much wider apart. If you take your arms out to your sides, you're going to kind of eyeball a straight line down from your fingertips to your outer heels or something of the like. So you've got a good wide stance. You've got your whole mat. Don't be afraid to use it. You can then return your hands back down onto your hips. Turn your right toes out to align your right heel to the middle arch of your left foot. And that's a bit slippery because it's cloth. Bend your knee until your knee is over your ankle. If it goes beyond, then your stance might be too short, so then I want you to move your back foot back a little bit further. You're working toward getting your thigh horizontal, but if that's too much just now, you can have it a little bit angled. I'm going to go a little angled today because, like I said, I'm sliding on my mat. Take your arms out at shoulder height and turn your palms to face down. Turn your chin and your eyes to the right, look over your right hand, and soften your gaze so you can soften the rest of your face. Take a deep breath in. And when you breathe out, see if you can settle a little bit more into your pelvis. Take another breath in. Full breath out. Soften. Breathe in. And now when you breathe out, straighten your front leg. Good. Turn your right toes in. And turn your right toes in a little bit deeper. So the outermost edge of your foot can kind of align to the back short edge of your mat. Turn your left toes out. Align your left heel to the middle arch of your right foot now. Make any little adjustments you need to make to the distance. And then bend your knee until your knee is over your ankle and your shin bone is vertical again. Turn the front of your body to face the side of the room. So it's almost like you're reaching your left knee and your right hip a little bit too, to the left in this case, so the side we're turning to. And then from your belly button again, you're turning a little bit so that you can create some sort of traction and resistance in your inner thigh. Lift your arms to the height of your shoulders, your palms facing down. Turn your chin and your eyes to the left, look over your left hand. When you inhale, gather your shoulder blades into the back of your heart a little bit more so. Keep that. And when you breathe out from your heart, stretch out through your arms. 2 more breaths. The next time you exhale, straighten your leg. Return your hands to your hips. Turn your left toes in again. Just make sure that your toes are in the same line. Kind of angle your big toes a little bit in toward one another. And then with your hands on your hips, inhale and lengthen from your outer hips to your inner armpits. So you get a little bit more spacious and down the sides of your waist. Draw your shoulders onto your upper back. Exhale and fold forward. As you fold, kind of scrub your heels toward one another so your inner legs are engaged and your legs are fully supporting you. Just as far forward as your body will let you. Keep your hands on your hips. Look back between your legs so that the back of your neck can become as spacious as the sides and the front. We have this tendency to want to look forward all the time, and that's great when it's needed, but we neglect the back of the body. We lose space at the back of the body, the unseen parts of us. So I encourage you to use your movement practice, your body practices, to get to know all parts of your body. Be humbled by the parts that you've neglected, and then take on the work of supporting them. Take 3 more breaths here. Again, every time you exhale, there's an opportunity to soften in your heart. And when you soften there, need to. So you can put your block underneath your outer thigh or not. You can also, if it's too high, use your folded towel or blanket. Again, hug your foot and your leg together a lot. So you create that muscular action in your hips and also a little bit in your core. You should feel it. Keep that. And then from your navel, kind of slightly turn your torso so that your sternum can line up with your kneecap or the midline of your leg. And then if there's space to maintain all of those things and start to lean forward, then lean forward. So I'll show you coming a little bit deeper into it this time. You want to more so engage the front of your waist, move your ribs back, but keep pressing your chest forward. So it's a balance of all of these actions taking place to allow you to explore a deeper variation of the shape. So look down toward your leg so that the back of your neck is spacious. And the next time you inhale, come all the way back up. Good. And then exhale, release your left leg forward. Keep both of your legs stretched out in front of you. Use your hands to manually roll your inner thighs down toward the floor more, and then at the same time, roll your outer thighs up, back and up. And then in that way, you're broadening the base of your seat again. Yeah, when you sit down like this, your tendency is to do this. So your body's just gotten used to slouching. And I want you to sit up on your block or on the edge of your folded blanket or towel, because that will help you. Gravity will support you to create more of a forward tip, and then you'll get the natural curvature of your spine, which is needed, especially if you don't quite have the depth of the forward fold just yet. So hinge from your hips and start to lean forward and just go as far as your hamstrings will let you. And that might not be even this far. You might be up here, but that's okay. If you're feeling it, you're feeling it. So find an edge that's appropriate for you. And for those of you with more space in the backs of your legs, mind you, your legs are somewhat engaged through the whole thing. And then you can start to kind of draw your ribs more into your body, draw your navel back, and then scoop your seat down toward your heels. You can see my spine starting to round a little bit. You want to keep that because the front is supporting the back, and then maybe fold down more deeply. And so the further you fold, the more engaged I want you to be at the front so that you are safely coming forward. This is not a passive pose. Look straight down or even look back a little bit. So you're creating that space in the back of your neck. Again, feel free to close your eyes. Take 3 breaths here. And then inhale to sit up. And when you exhale, you can just move off of your blanket and actually scooch forward so you can lie down on your back. Plant your feet flat on the floor. And keeping your left foot planted, hug your right leg in toward you. So you can wrap your hands around the front of your shin or the back of your thigh. Just draw your leg in toward you. And what I want you to notice is, first of all, if your right hip hikes up higher than your left by pulling your knee in. And if that's happening, I want you to kind of reach your right hip down a little bit more so that your hips are somewhat on the same plane. And then what I want you to do is slightly tip the front of your pelvis forward so that you kind of curve your lower spine off of the floor. It's just a little bit, it's not a lot. But again, just to establish the natural curvature of your spine as you're lying on your back. Okay, hold on to the front of your right knee with your right hand and take your leg out to the right. And if you find your left hip is lifting from the floor, let your knee splay a little bit wider to the left to counterbalance the weight of your right leg. And then come back to center. Plant your right foot down. Draw your left knee in, so hold the back of your thigh or the front of your shin. Check in that you still have that little bit of a forward tip of your pelvis. And for those of you with a little more flexibility today anyways, to do all of these things but straighten your right leg, then you can straighten your leg out long on your mat. You can do this with both sides. If your leg is straight, you can keep it straight and just keep your toes pointing to the ceiling. Hold on to your left knee with your left hand and take your leg out wider to the left. If you're doing this with your right knee still bent and you find your right hip is starting to tip off of the floor, just plant it back down and maybe let your knee splay wider to the right so that you can counterbalance the weight of your left knee. Back to center, and then plant both of your feet flat on the floor and walk them in a little bit closer. With your arms down at your sides, bend your elbows so your palms can face one another from over top of your rib cage. And then press your elbows down, press your head down a little bit too, so that you can kind of lift your back off of the floor and tuck your shoulder blades more beneath you. You can get your elbows in closer so you can tuck your shoulders in deeper. Keeping your feet planted on the floor. Take a breath in. When you breathe out, push your feet down, push your elbows down, push your shoulders down, push your head down, and lift your hips up. So you can keep your arms like this. I recommend it if your shoulders are tight and tend to pull forward and collapse your chest. So this way you have a little more space and leverage to keep your shoulders beneath you. Otherwise, you can also support your hips with your hands. Okay, nothing else really changes. Also notice that I'm keeping my throat open. So the back of my head is gently but firmly pressing into the floor so that my chin isn't falling into my chest. So another way you can do this, a little more challenging. I don't want you to approach it if, like I said before, your shoulders tend to be rounded forward. So you can keep your shoulders beneath you and clasp your hands and press your arms down into the floor. You can go ahead and do that. And we'll stay here for 3 breaths. Two more breaths. And 1 more breath. If your hands are bound, unbind them. You can bring them back to the first position. Then from the top of your spine, slowly unravel down. You can even lift onto your tiptoes to give yourself more space. So think of rolling down 1 vertebra at a time, lowering your hips last, and then creating a little bit of that forward tip just for the natural curvature in your spine. What I want you to do is stretch your legs out in front of you and bring your legs together to touch your toes pointing the ceiling. And then keep that, but draw your left knee in toward you. Actually, no, your right knee in toward you. And then carry your right leg up and over. So you're going to lift your right hip up so it stacks over your left. So you're twisting your legs or the lower half of your body to your left. And then from your belly button, I want you to turn to your right. You can reach your right arm out to the right and then look out toward your right hand. So you create a full rotation in your spine. Practice breathing deeply here. And the next time you inhale, come out of your twist. And when you exhale, stretch your right leg out long next to your left. Bring them together, point your toes to the ceiling. Keep that, and now draw your left leg in toward you. Cross your left leg all the way up and over to your right side. So you're rolling onto the side of your right hip. You may need to adjust your spine a little bit so you've got space to then twist to the left. And I don't have space to stretch my arm out on this side, so what I'm doing is I'm taking like a cactus arm. So my elbow is bent and my palm is, or not my palm, the back of my hand is on the floor, kind of in line with my head. You're still looking over toward your left shoulder though, or your left hand. And work toward keeping your left shoulder or rooting your left shoulder to the floor as you reach your knee over to the right. And then the next time you inhale, come back to center. Bring your knee back to center. And then stretch your leg out long. And then just adjust so you're in a straight line. Even take your hands behind your head and lift your head up. Look down the front line of your body. And then walk your shoulders up away from your hips a little bit more. And then lay your head back down. Good. Bend your knees, place your feet flat on the floor. And bring the soles of your feet together, let your knees splay apart. You can rest your hands on your front ribs, on your belly, on the fronts of your thighs, or you can lay your arms out at your sides. So whatever makes you comfortable and makes you feel grounded. But practice surrender and openness here. So again, we have that element of openness physically, and we can practice embodying that by being in the shape and also by breathing and softening in the heart every time you exhale. And take your hands to your outer thighs, bring your knees back together. And if you need to bring your knees in toward you to counter that, you can. From here or from just bringing your knees together. Stretch your legs out long on the floor. And you can take your legs out as wide as you like or have them as close together as you need. Same thing with your arms. Your arms can be out at your sides with your palms facing up, or you can rest your hands on your belly. Another thing that I like to do when I do Shavasana, which is what we're at just now, is put something that has a little bit of weight to it on my body. And what that does is it makes you feel a little more grounded. So it settles you into the floor a little more, which can be really reassuring and really nurturing. So I recommend it if you have that towel, or you can even put one of your books or your block on your belly, something like that. And then close your eyes. And release any effort that you have tied to your breathing. And release any efforting that you're still clinging to in your body. And sometimes those spaces are specifically in your shoulders or in your hips, but they can be anywhere. They could be in your feet or your hands, your knees, your quads, anything. So use every exhalation to kind of surrender a little bit more. Get a little more still. And enjoy the opportunity to rest on your back. You can stay here for as long as you like. And I recommend at least 5 minutes. If you have longer, then stay longer. in Shavasana. Enjoy Shavasana. Thank you for tuning in and sharing this short little practice with me. I appreciate the opportunity to connect with you, even though it's not on a physical plane. Much love to you all. May you all be healthy and happy and safe. Namaste.